Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Full Press Hockey Show that still does not have a name yet. I'm your host, Chris Wassel. With me is Jim Behringer. Ian Glennon is somewhere in the sidelines in the background laying around. Basically, he's just helping us keep this thing steered along. The number to call in or text and say hello, as always, is, drumroll please, 626-310-8882. Or best, basically, 626-310-888 dose. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, this is the 60-minute rapid-fire version of the Eastern Conference preview. That's right, 3 minutes per team, 16 teams. That gives us a whole, Jim, get this. We get a spare 10 minutes to talk about other news before we go into, or all right, maybe less than 10. We'll see how it goes.
I mean, we do have news, to be honest. Let's be honest. There is news to talk about before we get into this Eastern Conference preview. I mean, somebody did get paid today. Somebody went back to the island. Yeah, 2 guys got paid today. Somebody returned home to the island where he was drafted. So I guess we could talk about that before we get into the Eastern Conference preview because, money talks and everything else, walks.
I mean, we could just allot 2 minutes to a couple teams. Nobody's going to mind, right? I mean, it's not like we have an egg timer here, like buzzing us, like letting us know like we went overtime or something. But for folks that do not know, there was one significant signing today, and then there was the one signing that probably should have happened months ago based on all the speculation we heard. And it came right back to the exact amount. That, of course, is Kirill Kaprizov's re-signing with the Minnesota Wild. And I think Jim had it right at the very debut of this show a couple months ago that it was going to be a 5-year deal at around $9 million AAV. And sure enough, it came right. I mean, we all kind of had an idea that's what it would be. And it happened.
I know. It did happen. I mean, look, you know what? You just chalk another one up for the good guys. I mean, that's all you got to say, really. Like Scott Hall does back in NWO days with the survey. You chalk one up for the good guys. Hey, we all figured this is what it was going to be. Minnesota Wild settle 5 years, $9 million. Hey, good for the kid. He's getting paid rookie of the year. Wild have a great superstar. Their best players back. Let's be honest. Guerin gets the deal done. He gets paid. He settles. You knew he wasn't going to miss camp. You knew he was going to come in. They were going to get everything settled. And, Minnesota, again, it's still going to be a tough Central Division, and we'll get to it next week when we talk Western Conference previews. But it's definitely a tough division, but to have their best player back is something huge for this team and especially this franchise because that's something they desperately needed.
The real fast and crazy moment of this is the following. Okay, so not $9 million cap hit. So he is the highest cap hit on the Minnesota Wild right now. Numero dos is Jared Spurgeon at just over $7.5 million. Guess for the next few years, who is 3 and 4?
Guys that got bought out?
Guys that indeed get bought out.
All right.
Ryan Suter and Zach Parise at just over $7.3 million. Thank you for the guys from Cap Friendly that were kind enough to point this out for Minnesota Wild fans who just had to have this distinct feeling of going, God, in 2 years, our cap is going to be so bad.
Yeah,
it's going to be Toronto Maple Leafs bad.
It is.
In a sense, at least. But on the bright side, we had another signing today, too. And this could maybe force the trade markets to move a little bit. I wish we had a little more notice on this one because this kind of got shuffled back when the Kaprizov deal came almost right after. But Elvis Merzlikins, hey, Elvis has not left the building.
Not yet, anyway.
Not yet, but it's going to be harder to trade him now at 5 years and an AAV of $5.4 million for the Columbus Blue Jackets. So now you have an interesting dilemma. Somebody's going.
I mean, I think Elvis
Corpus
is the
Christi?
starter there. I think Elvis is the starter there. I mean, maybe Corpusado gets moved, but I mean, they have a decent 1-2 goalie combination right now, and I believe they have somebody in their system too. So they have a good problem to have with the depth at goaltending for the Columbus Blue Jackets. But Elvis has got a gig. He's got a nice gig for 5 years. He'll be working at the Nationwide Arena. You can see him on Saturday nights. All jokes aside, though, this is a really good signing for the Columbus Blue Jackets. I like what they've done in net there. I think Merzlikins is the better goaltender over Korpisalo, but neither guy is, they can play either guy any night of the week, and they can win games, especially the style that they play. But it's going to be tough for them when we transition into this Eastern Conference preview because, Metro Division, a lot of teams have taken a step forward. This team really isn't one. So they're going to be relying heavily on their goaltending this year to win them the games.
It's definitely going to be tough for Columbus, no question. Okay, like we said, those are the two main signings. We have a couple little news and notes tidbits that have come in along the way. Obviously, as we alluded to, one, Zach Parise went to Long Island. Finally signed his deal. We still don't really know what the amount is. That's kind of the funny part. I mean, I have a theory it's about $1 million and there's bonuses involved, but what those bonuses are, I don't know. But I guess the bigger one or the taller one in this case, bad pun intended, Zdeno Chara goes home. That's right. Zdeno Chara gets a 1-year, basically bare bones deal with the New York Islanders. Now, I don't know about you, Jim, but if I'm a Rangers fan right now or even a Flyers fan, I'm not feeling too good about this at all, just because of what he's done to those two teams through the years. And he could still play 15, 16 minutes a night as an effective third pairing guy. We saw that in Washington. So, it's the old, hey, this is a good deal for New York. Definitely. It beefs them up. That's for sure.
Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, I like what the Islanders are doing here. They're going all in. Obviously, the worst kept secret in the National Hockey League was that Zach Parise was going to the Islanders. Everybody knows that. If it wasn't for cap dynamics and roster moves and figuring out where they fit in, this deal would have been announced the first day of free agency. But we know how Lou works. Now, I gotta believe it's probably like the league minimum with bonuses to get him at $1 million or something. Something like that, I would imagine, for Parise. Look, the Chara signing is interesting because as much as he's terrorized certain teams, and I'm being honest here of watching the guy over the last couple of seasons, he's definitely lost a step. Yes, he has the reach, but he's been exposed in the playoffs the last couple of years, and I understand it's Barry Trout's system, and he's probably going to be able to be protected on the third pair and maybe play be a seventh defenseman and not play all 82 games so he's fresh for the playoffs. But knowing Barry Trotz and what he's done last year, if 6 defensemen play and play well, things don't change. And you have a couple liabilities back there with Chara and Andy Green. And again, this is just my opinion, but the Islanders need scoring. And defense wasn't their problem. And I think they would have been able to find somebody on the trade market or brought in a PTO where they have Gustafsson there. He'll be a 7th guy as well if they sign him and keep him around. But they need to find goal scoring. And yes, they were 1 goal away from going to the Stanley Cup final and lost to Tampa Bay again. And I do believe they'll be back in the Eastern Conference final. But you're telling me you're going to want Andy Green and Zdeno Chara paired up. That's going to be a tough pair to deal with if you're Barry Trotz, because there's a lot of liabilities on the ice with those two.
No doubt about it. And then there's the final one before we get into the previews, just because, well, this is one that hits near and dear to Jim's heart and my heart as well. For all the differences that I may have had in the past with Travis Zajac, I do want to wish him the happiest of retirements as he signed his 1-day deal with the New Jersey Devils to basically come home and retire. He played over 1,000 games with the Devils, played all but 13 games of his career with the Devils. had a cameo with the Islanders basically, and came back home. It's the best way to describe a player that, yes, was a first round pick. I know he did not live up to the offensive expectations that were bestowed upon him when he was drafted, but I think he turned out all right and scored some pretty clutch goals for us in the playoffs through the years. And to be perfectly honest, he for better or for worse, he was the quintessential New Jersey Devil, and he kind of developed a little bit of a New Jersey streak in him as his career wound along. So, if I had my drink here, it didn't explode in my hand 15 minutes before showtime, I would raise my drink and toast this one to Travis Zajac. Here's to you, buddy.
Yeah, here's to you, Travis. Great player for the Devils. Like you said, didn't live up to expectations offensively, but I got to say, quintessential defensive forward, great center, probably underrated player in the league. Scored big goals, especially 2012 for the Devils, kept playoff runs alive for them. Florida Panthers, first round, game 6, overtime, sends it to game 7 when Henrique has the winner. 1,000 games played. Outside of 15 games with the Islanders, he's played entire career with the Devils. So, I mean, good for him. It's the right move. If he didn't get traded to the Islanders last year, I think he retires anyway. He retires a Devil. Good that he is a Devil because it just makes sense. He was saying in his press conference, he just really didn't have the internal drive to play anymore. And, players know it. Fitzgerald was open to bringing him back. He's a good center for them before he got traded. They had nice depth down the middle, help with the young guys. So, good for Travis, and he'll be a part of the organization going forward. So, raise to you, Travis, and hopefully you get your name in a ring of honor, and you'll be honored on, I believe, March 10th against the Winnipeg Jets. The Devils will honor him. So good on him, and a nice Winnipeg boy. And, it's good on the Devils for what they're doing for him, and all the best in his retirement.
One thing, Jim, before we get into the previews, and this is something that I know had become a bit of an issue with the Devil, maybe some of the Devils fans and such. In his press conference, I think Travis at least mentioned 5 or 6 times how he felt that despite some differences in the last year or so, that he felt that this Devils team was truly a family. And I know certain people that were formerly in the organization have taken a lot of shots at New Jersey for this, and some rightfully and some not. But it was interesting for him to go out of his way. And considering how Travis Zajac is relatively soft-spoken, in a sense, for him to go out of his way and mention at least 5 or 6 times the meaning of family with him and the Devils organization, and even a few mentions of Lou along the way. So it was good to hear, and it was refreshing, to be honest, for a guy that normally is not very vocal, to be vocal in that regard. All right, ready, aim. Wait. Oh, we can't do you can't do that on television thing here. So, yes, folks, it is time for the Eastern Conference preview. And God, I cannot get the smell of berry out of my head. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, I do apologize. This is pretty awful. I mean, yeah, my fingers are sticking to my other fingers. It's that bad. All right. First off, we are going with, yes, the Atlantic Division. We'll save the Metro for last because that it seems to be the most fair. So, all right, I did my homework. I did my slide rule and abacus, and we came up with not necessarily standings per se, but sort of quick predictions for teams and some, I guess, some fun thoughts with what may or may not happen this year with the 82-game schedule. Jim, we're not beating around the bush. The first team we're going with, of course, is the Florida Panthers, because that seems to be the team that, well, a lot of people have a heavy amount of expectations on. Look, this is going to be a wild team to gauge all year. We know the talent that's brought in. We have the 2 Sams, Sam Reinhart, Sam Bennett. Mm-hmm. You have a loaded team. I mean, wow. You think about this. You have Spencer Knight in net, who could eventually take over as the number 1 over Sergei Bobrovsky. I know it sounds crazy, but it's being talked about heavily. I mean, that there's a buzz down in South Florida, hockey-wise, that I have not seen in a long time, and
I could
that's
see
a big part.
I
Mitchell.
could see it. He played a playoff game last year.
I mean, look, we have pundits like projecting Florida to win 50 games. I mean, it's out there.
possible.
It's out there.
possible.
So you have to look at it that way. Obviously, Barkov, Huberdeau. I mean, like we said, Reinhart, Bennett, Sam Bennett. What does Sam Bennett do in a full year with Florida, the way that team is set up? I mean, this is one of the top 5 power plays in the league. Oh, by the way, you know who else comes back for them? And if he's healthy, God help us all. Aaron Ekblad.
Yeah.
Because remember, Ekblad was having a really good year last year before the injury. So if this team was not stacked enough, they are now. And to be perfectly honest, with all due respect to Toronto and even Tampa Bay, you have to acknowledge that right now, as of this moment, Florida is the class of that division until proven otherwise. They're the most balanced from top to bottom right now. Oh, by the way, they still have to make a move or two to get further under the cap. They're under the cap with 25 players signed.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to disagree with that last part about how they're the class of division. They may be the most balanced team in that division, but until somebody beats Tampa Bay is the class of that division. And I know they've had a lot of changes, especially at their third line, basically gone. But they figure out a way to plug and put pieces together. The Lightning do under Cooper, so I'm not going to put any team above that team just yet. But I will agree with Panthers have done a lot of good work. Joel Quenneville second. It's going to be a full year with him, 82 games. We know how long it took in Chicago with a young team. Then they got to the promised land. The biggest issue for the Panthers is going to be it's like with the Maple Leafs, is getting over the playoff curse. They have not won a playoff series since 1996 when they went to the Stanley Cup final against the Colorado Avalanche and lost in 4 games. That's the biggest problem. They cannot get out of the first round. As much as if they have a great season, it's all well and good with the talent they brought in. But if they don't get out of the first round of the playoffs, it's a major disappointment. It's like with the Toronto Maple Leafs. But I like what Florida's done. They've got a great team, good balance, good depth at goaltending, good depth at every position. I like the coach. I think Florida's definitely going to make the playoffs. It's just going to find out who they're playing in the first round and see if they can get over that hump, that mental hump of getting out of the first round, because once they do, they have a good shot of making a run.
Jim, you have the perfect segue because the next team, of course, naturally is another team that can't get over the playoff hump. And that, of course, is the Toronto Maple Leafs. And we saw this last year in just incredulous. Look, all right, I know we're here, but it was 3-1 until I'm blue in the face. But nonetheless, Toronto did the unthinkable last year. They managed to lose a series that they, by all rights, had won. They woke the sleeping giant in the Montreal Canadiens, who then went all the way to the Stanley Cup final, basically because Toronto forgot to score on the power play. It was that simple. That their special teams went out to lunch for the rest of that series. And the first 4 games, you were like, great. Last 3 games, huh?
Yeah.
And it was just it just looked like this. Their core 4, if you will, has to shoulder a lot of the blame too. Besides Frederik Andersen, who is, gone. In the sense of this, they just didn't produce, especially Mitch Marner. Where was Mitch Marner? Mitch Marner was off in a reservation somewhere, and that's becoming a bigger and bigger issue in Toronto. I guess it's not Toronto if there's not a Mitch Marner trade room here right before training camp starts. And it seemed like just as we were, going on the air in the hours and days before, I kept seeing rumor after rumor after rumor. It's like, really, we're going there. But nonetheless, Toronto probably a rung below, say, Tampa Bay, maybe even a rung below Boston. Especially you consider it, their goaltending now is dramatically different than what it was. I mean, we X'd out Mr. Anderson. We still have Jack Campbell, but Peter Mrazek is now backing him up.
Or is it the other way?
We don't know. I mean, right now they're saying all the right things and that it's going to be something close to a 50-50 split. But Sheldon Keefe doesn't know. He's probably going to ride the hot hand once the season starts. And the irony is, for what it's worth, people forget that Toronto had pretty much a top 10 defense at 5-on-5 last year in the regular season. Now, how that translates over 82 is going to be the big question that we don't know. But at least over the 56-game regular season last year, Toronto was one of the better defenses in the league and one of the better offenses. And that's why people said that that could have been the year. That was the year for them. And yet it still did not happen. Again. And we're just talking about this again. We're shuffling the chairs at the Titanic in Toronto, and over in Yonge Street, they're going to be doing the same thing. You know, they're going to win a few games to start the season, plan the parade. And I think we're going to be the same road at the end of this season, where they get into the playoffs, and then they're waiting again to see if they face a Boston or something in round one. We better hope they don't. Or Tampa Bay.
They might actually have a chance if they play Boston this year in the first round.
It'll be interesting, that's for sure.
It definitely will be. I mean, look, I was on, not the plug, but you probably heard it. It's Dog 960 with Mike Richards and Dave Basto on Monday. Yeah, our boys. I mean, look, I was asked about the Leafs, the Shanna plan, all this stuff. Look, things went out the window when John Tavares signed his contract there. Do they regret it? No, but they have to figure out something has to change in this team, and they have to figure it out quickly if they want to win playoff games. It's not, it's a good regular season, we're making steps. No, this is year 7 now, and they need to figure out how they're going to get out in the first round. If last year wasn't their Tampa Bay Columbus Blue Jacket moment, I don't know what will be, because this team needs to figure out this can't be about individual awards, having great regular seasons, this, that, and other thing. It's time to put results in, and this core better figure out how to get it done, because the window's closing with these guys, and I wouldn't be shocked to see Austin Matthews wearing a Arizona Coyotes jersey in the near future, because, there's all the talk about him going home. But look, Matthews is going to do his thing. Marner needs to be more of a factor come the playoffs. Nylander's doing his thing, but they have to find the right pieces to play together, and they can't have Jason Spezza be their best player when the playoffs come around.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Speaking of teams that know how to win and win in a bubble very well, that's right. Next up is the two-time Stanley Cup champion, Tampa Bay Lightning. Now look, like we said, Tampa Bay lost its entire third line in free agency, and they all got paid, especially Blake Coleman, and deservedly so. Blake, hey,
you got
lots of coin for your pickle juice business. That's for sure. But look, Tampa Bay is still Tampa Bay. They will find talent to replace what they lost. There's no question about it. And last I checked, they still have some guy named Kucherov, another one, and Stamkos. Victor Hedman is healthy for the first time in 2 years. That's pretty scary. Victor Hedman is 100% for the first time in 2+ years, Jim. That's scary. I mean, he was banged up all that time.
That is scary.
They still won the Stanley Cup. You have guys like Warriors like Callahan. You have still a stacked and Andre Vasilevsky's in net. I mean, the guy just comes up with the goods, even if though he's dead tired. I mean, he said he's like, I'm just dead tired and glad that this is over. When you hear that from a goalie after the Stanley Cup, it's pretty funny to hear, but it actually was true. So, look, you said it yourself. I mean, we'll probably disagree a little bit with this regular season standing wise, but we'll agree come playoff time. Tampa Bay, until you beat them, they're without a doubt the team to beat. They were a top 10 in the power play last year. They were a top 10 in the penalty kill. One of the few
and that was without Kucherov for the whole season.
Yeah, it's pretty freaky to look. I mean, they got that Braden Point guy with all else fails. Exactly. I mean, look, Look, Braden Point had 14 goals in his first 19 playoff games last year. I mean, that's pretty absurd. So if you try to stop one line, and you'll have a healthy Alex Killorn, Andrej Palat is still there. I mean, you have these middle six guys that just can plug in anywhere that can score 45, 50 points. But more importantly, they know how to play in the playoffs. And this is a team that's probably thinking right now in their heads at the very least, hey, we get in, we'll worry about it then. So I mean, it's really Tampa is like the no bake easy oven preview of previews, and then this is where it gets fun. The Boston Bruins. What the heck are we going to do with the Boston Bruins? Like we said, we got 2.5 minutes to do the Boston Bruins. For those that don't know, Tuukka Rask went off and he had to have surgery. He's technically not signed, by the way. So there's that. You have this is going to be weird. So they brought in Linus Ullmark. He's making $5 million this year. But at least according to the Boston Brain Trust, he could be swaying with Mr. Swayman in the Nets. This could be a platoon early on, and already the seeds of my fantasy tummy are starting to hurt in a way that people cannot understand. By the way, for those that don't know, I was on Fantasy Hockey Hacks last night, and one of the wilder late night shows. I love West Coast. I love West Coast hockey podcasts because that's about the time of night I'm waking up while you guys are all sleeping. I'm awake, and we have that. So you have the goaltending. You have the goaltending confluence. You have David Krejci going over the Czech Republic. That's a big one for folks. Look, I know I heard this from Boston for many years. Oh, Krejci this, Krejci that. And now through the entire offseason, all we heard was it was the David Krejci Appreciation Tour. Well, he's gone. At least for this year. He's gone. He's happy. God bless the guy. He gave his heart and soul to the Boston Bruins. I mean, that's all you could ever ask for any player. I don't know if he's ever coming back. I don't think anybody really does. But you know what? They don't have him right now. And temporarily, at least, they think Charlie Coyle or somebody's going to fill in as the second center. And I'm telling you, Jim, this is where their big hole is. After Patrice Bergeron, it's like, it's like those gnomes from South Park. Step one, collect underpants. Step two, step three, they throw their hands up, and then magically step four, make profit. I mean,
yeah, it's crazy.
It's rough. I mean, look, we had Chris Blackie and a couple, and Joe Haggerty and a couple other Boston guys, Tim Rosenthal, etc. All said, especially Rosie. I mean, Rosie and I go back for so long that I'm old and decrepit. But he said it best, and this was interesting. The glue of this team is gone. He's like between Tuukka Rask and David Krejci not playing at the start of the year, regardless of what happens if Rask eventually comes back from hip surgery, whatever. This team is going to have a hole in it, and we don't know how they're going to fill it. So until we do, all you can really say with Boston is bubble. That's it.
I agree.
We just don't know. There's not it's like having the math problem with you need 4 steps to do the math problem. You have 3, and you're missing like something crucial in the middle. And that's why I say to people, it's like, well, how can you do a preview and leave it basically semi-blank? This is why, because you don't. It's like having a 3/4 completed canvas. We don't have the whole picture. We don't know what. We don't know what Boston will eventually do come the trade deadline. We think they're going to do something. We just don't know what yet.
Yeah.
Now to the bottom tier of the division.
Yeah, real quick before we get there, I just want to say, I think Boston definitely bubble team. I'm not going to pencil them in a playoff spot. I think Tampa Toronto and are definitely better than they are. I mean, they could surprise us all, but the thing was with the Krejci thing is a huge hole because I think Taylor Hall, when he came over, had a lot of chemistry with Krejci, and that's definitely a big loss for the Bruins there. We'll see what else on defense too. I mean, you just don't know. And having Rask there, is Olmark really now the starter there because he's getting paid $5 million? Can you bring Rask back? A lot of question marks with those Bruins this year. Nothing really guaranteed. So as we get to the bottom fears, I think we can go a little bit rapid fire now with the bottom.
Yeah, it's kind of nice, right? This is the part, like I said, in the original thought process of the show is like 3-3-3-3, 2-2-2, 3-3-3, 2-2-2, and run. All right, folks, since I can do this really fast, since I cover the Montreal Canadiens along with the Devils, simply put, Montreal went on this amazing magical run last year that could be best described as once in a lifetime, as the talking heads put it. And that was it, because let's face it, we're back to reality. They are playing in the Atlantic Division again. They're playing teams that, we listed the first four that are definitely better than them. And it doesn't leave much options given the fact that the Metropolitan is jammed. So, at best, they're at their best case scenario, Montreal's battling for a bubble spot. Carey Price is still there. Tomas Tatar has exited stage left. Philip Deneau has also exited stage left. He went and signed his pizza elsewhere. It's crazy to think that.
And Kotkaniemi's down in Carolina, so
after signing his 1 year, $6.1035 million
offer sheet, yeah,
it's like I gotta carry the one
$20 signing bonus. I mean, look, you and I both agree on this, Sharon, text and everything. It's playoffs or bust for this Canadiens team just to justify with their last two runs in a bubble. It's going to be tough for them. No Shea Weber. He's probably done for his career. Well, at least for this year. Carey Price, we don't know what kind of Carey Price we're going to get come training camp. Who's the other big guy? Paul Byron's on IR to start the year. Yeah. So a lot of factors here. We don't know how Jonathan Drouin.
Jeff Petrie is your number one defenseman.
Right.
And it's not that he isn't. It's just he doesn't have that support from guys like Weber anymore. I mean, this is going to be tough, and that's why I've said to people, do not be surprised if Montreal does not make the playoffs for this reason, no matter how their regular season is. And then, of course, Brendan Gallagher can't stay healthy either.
Right, and let's not forget, the last time they were in the Atlantic Division, when COVID shut the season down in 2020, they lost to Detroit 4 times.
And missed the playoffs because of it.
And would have missed the playoffs because of it.
Yeah, crazy.
But they got in because of the right. Exactly.
They got in on a technicality.
Yeah, exactly. But they should have missed the playoffs because you don't deserve to be in the playoffs.
Use the 4. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, damn technicalities. It's like, wow, we had to have a play around that year. All right, onward. Let's see. Oh God, it's getting bad, Jim. It's getting bad. Next, real fast, the Ottawa Senators. Look. The easiest way to do the Ottawa Senators is this. They're a nice up-and-coming team. It's good that, they got a couple of their players signed, but until Brady Tkachuk signs on the dotted line, really can't say much about them one way or the other. And we know eventually that he will. But this is another one of those teams. It's like goaltending. The defense is the offense has one good line, and then a very average power play. They're fun to watch some nights, but again, they're on the road to rebuilding. It's going to be something that just takes a long while in a process. So don't get too attached to them.
As long as they get the players to stay there and buy into it, they'll be fine. I mean, they got a nice thing going there. So, and they'll be pesky, especially against Montreal, Toronto. They'll give them fits. Right. They'll get some wins in that division for sure, especially against some of those better teams when some of those other teams take an off night or something because the Sens are so pesky.
Yeah, basically the last half of last season, Ottawa was 16th in the league in points.
Yeah,
so that people forget that. I know that first month of the season was awful, but all right. To get into the even further awful, oh God, do we really need to do this? Is this trip really necessary? Yep. The Sabres, Oh God. I mean, first off,
No Jack Eichel.
all right, folks, we predicted this months ago before the playoff bubble had even started. There was a distinct possibility that Jack Eichel would come really close to the season and still be a Buffalo Sabre, or at the very least the start of training camp. Guess what's tomorrow? Training camp. Guess who's still in Buffalo? Jack Eichel. Now, I went and I did a little back room digging this afternoon because I know a few people out on the left coast that have some Buffalo, not necessarily roots, but they know Buffalo well. An NHL guy by the name of Eric Stevens, as we all know, the Iceman. Gotta love the Iceman. He's one of the best and will literally give you 5, 10, 20, 30, 40 minutes of his time. And he probably shouldn't because, yeah, I'm a curmudgeon. But he did. And between him and a good friend of mine, Brian Sanborn, who is a lifelong Buffalo fan, who is transplanted out in the lovely lands of Southern California, as they both said to me, they're not surprised in the least. And every person I've talked to from Buffalo that will actually talk, Jim, because this is something that keeps so quiet since everything else has gone on there. Simply put, it's status quo up there. Changed agents, this, that, doesn't matter. Status quo until we won't hear a peep. So the simple Buffalo Sabres preview is we're going for the number 1 pick. That's it. They're going to let their guys develop. Guys like, look, Dom Granado did an excellent job of developing younger players last year. Dylan Cousins, especially Casey Middlestat.
That's a player to watch this year for Buffalo. I like that kid. Casey Middlestat came on late.
And we'll see what happens with Rasmus Dahlin because, we have to see what kind of bridge contract he gets and how, he responds with Granado and such. And then as for goaltending, we're not sure. We're not sure what's going to happen really with Buffalo and goaltending because they weren't really sure. So it's, we got Ukko in net, and after that, it's kind of like just a bunch of unknown quantities. So there's that. It's rough.
Yeah, and they're going to play an outdoor game against Toronto and Hamilton. So I guess
it's going to be interesting.
All right, so we have one team left in the Atlantic Division. Those Detroit Red Wings. What do you say?
I deliberately left them off for a reason. Till the very end. I had to.
Is it that bad?
I don't think it is. I think with Nedeljkovic and net, I do think they're better this year. We have to see which Dylan Larkin we get. I am convinced, and I know Kyle said this in the chat room. Should I be concerned that Detroit is going after Buffalo? And no. It's just the way I was doing it in my head to do this real fast. Basically, what you need to see in Detroit is you need to see continued development, and you need to see Nedeljkovic play probably about 50 games, Jim? At least in that range, 50, 55 games.
Easy.
Just
easy.
I mean, just so he gets, and I think he instantly improves their penalty kill, which was at times New Jersey bad last year. Yeah, I said that. New Jersey bad. It was rough. It did improve over the second half, but that was probably because Jonathan Bernier played more games. To be honest, the irony, right? Yeah, think about how.
Jonathan Bernier.
And of course,
that's a good question by Kyle.
I do think he does eventually at some point. I just don't know when Mo Seider makes his debut. I've heard people that are trying to say they're going to not shunt him for another year, but try to let him develop for another year. But he's banging on the door.
But that's the Red Wing way. Look at all them guys that did, all those guys that were in that organization, the Zetterbergs, the Datsyuks, all them guys. They kept them in the A, made them stay extra, even though everybody knew they were ready, and then they came up, and then they just went through it. And I think that's what their system is: draft and developing. Got Lucas Raymond there. They have a nice young team. It's very fun to watch what Steve Yzerman's doing back in Detroit. So I think they're gonna be a fun team. Not like they're gonna make the playoffs or anything, but it's just gonna be a fun team to watch this year.
Yeah, I mean they have players. They have some nice players. Look. Jacob Vrana, I'm interested to see what he does with a full year in Detroit. especially on the power play with Larkin and Bertuzzi. That looks like something that could be interesting. It could be even an interesting first line, perhaps. I am concerned about Tomas Greiss aging.
Yep.
Which is why, like we said, we think that Delkovich is going to have to play more. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in Detroit this season, no question. All right, we have made it. We have gotten to that division of divisions, quite possibly the most brutal division in hockey, the Metropolitan Division. And by the way, Jim, there's injuries already naturally because this is the Metropolitan Division. Nobody can stay healthy in this division ever.
I mean, nobody stays healthy in this division. It's the black and blue division. It's the most fun division. I mean, obviously a little biased because it's the easiest division for us to cover because we're so close to it. So many teams in traveling distance, but everybody seems to be hurt. A lot of question marks for me anyway, outside of the Islanders in Carolina. Who else is going to decide to step up and make the playoffs? Be with teams like Pittsburgh and Washington possibly taking steps back. We got it's 8:42. We want to keep this under at least close to an hour. So let's rapid fire some of these teams and let's see what we got. I know big injuries include Crosby, Kevin Hayes, a lot of guys out 6 to 8 weeks before training camp even gets underway. So what do we got?
Right. Okay, here we go. We've got 18 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. We can do this.
We can do this.
Right. We can do this. All right. So first off, Columbus Blue Jackets, like we mentioned, signed Elvis. Great move. But, now you got to make a move. You got to perhaps make a trade. They lost Seth. Obviously, they were going to lose Seth Jones no matter what.
Right.
So,
exactly.
Everybody knew that.
Oh, but again, they got Patrick Laine.
Look, they have a motivated Patrick Laine. That's going to be interesting. There are a couple wild cards in this. We don't know what you're going to get in a player like Max Domi at this point. We don't know. I mean, look, you have Jake Bean on his second team. Does Oliver Borkstrand finally make that step up this year and stay that way? And what we mean by that is, does he sustain that production that people are coming to expect of him gradually? And those are a lot of the questions that they have. And then the back end it's rough. There's no question about it. Their bottom six in their defense after a certain point, Jim, is just rough. They do not have a lot of depth, and that's where the concerns lie. So
it's a rebuild for Columbus.
Good luck, Yarmo.
Yeah, good luck, Yarmo. Good luck, JD. Glad to see JD back with Columbus. They did wonders under him. So let's see where they go. Like you said, it's just going to be tough in that division because there's just so many good teams and so many teams that improved this season.
Yep. Next up, our team, Jim. Look at that. Hey, we got to the Devils. Holy crap. Did we make some? Hey, Tom Fitzgerald said he was going to make some moves, and lo and behold, that little bit bleep was right. Yeah, it's a family show. We can. But we signed the big free agent, the big kahuna of free agents. And suddenly $9 million a year didn't sound so bad compared to some of the players that got $9 million. Dougie Hamilton with the big money. And obviously then there was the Tomas Tatar signing. I liked it. I will say this though. We had a couple big signings, but there's the one that I like the most. And I know this guy won't retire at least. And that's Jonathan Bernier.
This is true. True.
Remember, Bernier over the second half last year had a penalty kill save percentage of .902 on the Detroit Red Wings.
That's good.
And Kyle is going to drill this into our heads until it's ingrained that Bernier is clearly greater than Thomas Greiss, which is true. But look, for the Devils, it comes down to this. Can they avoid COVID? I mean, this is the thing for the Devils. People forget that the Devils were pretty good last year, or in the very early part of the season, until COVID hit, and then just nothing went right at all. And we don't know how many players had it, and we don't really know how many players had it how badly. So the hope is basically with what you have there and what is being built and a fresh year where players can get their heads. I mean, look, this is a team that I'm not saying they're going to make the playoffs at all. I'm saying they're going to be much improved and a much harder team to play against. Expectations are definitely there that they're not going to finish in last, at least.
You would hope.
I can't. And they might finish ahead of one or two other teams that we don't know how they're going to fare. And that's how you got to look at it.
Look, overall, Devils improved, vastly improved, filled needs. Tatar, Dougie Hamilton, Bernier, you filled in positions. Hamilton allows the Devils to slot guys the right way. Not to mention they added Ryan Graves, great pick up there on defense. So you have a nice balanced pairs there. Let's see what Ty Smith does in his second year. What does Sharon Govich do? Kolkinen, you got that top line with Hughes, those guys. Let's see what Jack Hughes does now in his third season. Nico Hischier, let's give him another full year. See who he clicks with. Other guys going to step up. They lost a key member of that fourth line, Nate Bastian's over in Seattle. So Devils got a lot of work to do, but they're definitely improved. The big thing is, you and I both know it, is the defensive structure. Will it change under Elaine Nazardine? And if it doesn't, things need to change quickly. They cannot wait if they want to be playing meaningful games and play spoiler come the end of the season.
Yeah, folks, the future is coming with New Jersey. It's that simple. Mercer, Holtz, Foot. If you watched any of the prospect tournament and you're a Devils fan, go watch it on YouTube and just sit back and go, hey, in a couple of years, it won't be so bad. Next up, the Philadelphia Flyers. Wait, ow, 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 ow. Oh, we got injuries already. Oh, look. I will be the first one to say this because we had the chance to say this on the show, I know, a few weeks ago when it happened. But, man, it's been a rough summer for Kevin Hayes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously the loss of his brother. Anybody that has lost their brother at that age or that time, in your adult years, and way, way too soon. And I've been there. I look, I know it's coming up, 2-year anniversary of my brother's passing in October. And the first thing I think of is just all the things that it's been bad enough. And now, he has an injury that's going to keep him out for 6 to 8 weeks. And that's a big loss for Philly. Look, let's be honest. This is, top 6 forward that you need, especially with the departures that they had. All the comings and goings in Philadelphia. I mean, my God, we joked about this many times, but Chuck Fletcher made just a laundry list of moves. Ryan Ellis brought in, Rasmus Ristolainen brought in. I mean,
Cam Atkinson brought in for Jacob Voracek.
Wait, it gets better. Martin Jones brought in for. Yeah, I know.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I know.
Mm-mm.
I know. That's just going to be. That's going to be rough.
Shane Gostisbehere went out to Arizona to be in the sun. So
Keith Yandel too, by the way.
Look. To be honest, the Flyers definitely improved. It stinks that they lost Kevin Hayes to begin the year. And by the way, they gave Sean Couturier
make an 8-year contract.
8-year contract similar to what to Svechnikov down in Carolina. I'm not sure if that was equivalent there, but look, the Flyers definitely improved on defense. They're going to have more help in front of Carter Hart. This is a big year for Carter Hart, especially with Martin Jones as his backup. Let's see what he can do. The Flyers definitely improved. They want to get back to being a playoff team. They're definitely going to be on the bubble with their improvement, but not having Kevin Hayes to start is going to be a very tough situation to climb out of. But you know what? Look, Alain Vigneault, maybe he can figure out a way to get this team gelling because they need guys like Claude Giroux to step up big time.
Yeah, they need to get off to a good start, and they could. I mean, look, they have a little bit better of a schedule than most teams. Their strength of schedule, at least early, is somewhat favorable compared to some of the other bubble teams. Like, I can't believe I'm saying this, Jim. The Washington Capitals.
I would agree with that.
Bubble team this year.
I would agree with that. 100% agree with that.
And this is where we get into the problem of the division of all the unknowns. All right, so basically, if you look at it this way, the Washington Capitals traded their goaltender away only to have to trade back for him.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. What does that do to your psyche if you're Ilya Samsonov? I mean, you got to think about this.
Well, wait a minute. Was it Sam? It was
Well,
Samsonov because he got picked up by Seattle.
Remember, Vanacek was the one that got
picked up.
Remember,
and then they traded back. And then they traded
Samsonov's thinking he's going to start like probably 55, 60 games. And then all of a sudden Vanacek comes back.
Right.
That's what I mean by it. It's like, Samsonov's thinking, hey, I'm going to give you the starter. And wait, not so fast. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun time. Look, you have Alexander Ovechkin for the next however many years. He signed that. He signed that five-year deal. It was what, 9.5 million AAV. I would have paid him 30 million. It doesn't matter. You could pay him all the whatever currency you want to. Basically, he's that good. I mean, look, he's going to score 45, 50 goals. There's no doubt about it. This guy's just going to keep on scoring.
No.
I do like some of the new wrinkles that he has. He has a half office on the right side now. Because we started watching. Yeah, when you start watching videotape on players like this, it gets nauseating. But it's true. He now scores on the right side in the little half slot. It's not as far of a shot for him, which means maybe he's aging a little bit, but that shot is still lethal enough that it scares goalies. So it works. He's developed a changeup, Jim, as they say.
Exactly. So, they have. Look, for me, for Washington, I think aging team. Been there a lot, but the big thing is, can Peter Laviolette get this team, winning games, especially in postseason? They haven't won a playoff series since Barry Trout's been there. Team is aging, but they still somehow own the Devils. So I mean, and it's not Blitzer and Harris that own the team. Ovechkin owns that team, and the Capitals do. They do not lose against the New Jersey Devils for some reason, and that's the thing that Devils need to improve on as well. But look, Washington is definitely going to be a bubble team. Like I said earlier, I think the Islanders and Carolina are definitely classes in this division, but you can't rule out Ovi and Backstrom. They'll figure out a way. Kuznetsov's there. Will he get traded? Won't he get traded? Is he sticking around? Who knows? So a lot of question variables with those Capital teams, and I think I don't know what your next team is on the list, but probably other teams in this division have question marks too.
Yep. Speaking of the next one, of course, naturally is one of those teams that could be the class of the division, and they could fall flat on their face too. That is, of course, the Carolina Hurricanes. Now, here's the problem with the Carolina Hurricanes, obviously. They did lose the big, giant free agent to someone else in the division, which is rough. Dougie Hamilton went from Carolina and took his barbecue with him to New Jersey. I still will never understand how Carolina, over $500,000, let Alex Nedeljkovic walk away. Makes no sense. So. Nope. Basically, you let him walk. You let let's see. You let Mrazek walk.
You let Bernier walk. You let Reimer walk.
Everybody walk.
You brought in Anderson, and you brought in Antti Ranta. Two guys that get injured. Your goaltending definitely took a step back. You overpaid for Kotkaniemi. Out of what? Revenge? Spite? I mean...
Yeah, no matter what they say in Carolina, the attempt to spin this, it was 100% petty. We all know it. I mean, it's just like, why do you do this and you don't pay Nedeljkovic and you don't pay Hamilton, who would have stayed probably for 8-5 even.
Right.
In Carolina. He said it in so many words in his press conference with New Jersey. He's like, if Carolina had offered me 8-5 with a few bonuses, I probably would have stayed. He would, at the very least, as he said, he would have given it considerable thought. And I don't think they came anywhere close. And yet, you pay more money for a guy like Freddie Anderson over Nick. I mean, it boggles. And then you, like you said, you bring in Antti Ranta. Now, you have a top six that's excellent. And if anybody can nurse Kotkaniemi to a 45 or 50 point season, it's Sebastian Aho.
Definitely.
Obviously, you have Aho, you have Teravainen and Svechnikov, which are expected to be the top line at the start of the season for Rob Brendamore's Hurricanes. They have a top 5 power play. They have one of the best penalty kills. They have one of the best defenses in terms of shots on goal allowed per 60. The question is, can these guys make saves or stay healthy enough to make saves? And that's why this is a team that could win the division. They could miss the playoffs. I mean, yeah, a lot of things would have to happen for that to occur, but it's very possible. So it's something to keep in mind. All right, rapid, extra fire now.
Right.
That's right, kids. We are up to, drumroll please, the team I hate talking about the most, and that, of course, is the New York Rangers. Sorry, kids. I know it's horrible. I'm a horrible host. I openly announce my biases on the air.
Chris, let me make this easy for you. I know you probably have some stuff to talk about with the Rangers. Let me make this easy for you. It's playoffs or bust for the New York Rangers this year. No matter what they want to say, no matter how they're going to spin it, talk about they're doing things the right way. No, doing things the right way would have been keeping everybody in the organization, making a handful of changes that they did, and not letting the owner get involved. Now it's on James Dolan if they do not make the playoffs. And if they don't, well, then what's going to happen? It's not Chris Drury's fault. It's the guy who runs the team who meddled with the Knicks. So it's up to the Rangers to make the playoffs. Gerard Gallant's a great coach. Everybody knows what he did in Vegas. He got the short end of the stick there. He got the short end of the stick in Florida. I think the Rangers have a legitimate chance to be a playoff team. It's going to be tough, but they do.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. Just to wrap it up simply, this team goes as far as Panarin and Zibanejad take them.
Yep.
And if Shesterkin can win more than 30 games, they probably make the playoffs. It really is that simple. All right, next up, another team with ouch, and ouch. That's right. It's the Pittsburgh Penguins, who have now channeled their early 2009 to 2015 days as the injury kings of the NHL. Unfortunately, yes, that's right. Evgeny Malkin and Sidney Crosby will not start the season with the Pittsburgh Penguins. But on the bright side, they still have that goalie and Tristan Jarry that everybody in Pittsburgh loves so much. It's going to be, you know what? What would be absolutely poetic is if somehow Tristan Jarry carries this team in the first month of the season, because that is something that it would happen in Pittsburgh. This is the thing. This is the thing with the Penguins. The Penguins have like 26 million lives when it comes to the regular season. They find a way to absolutely exceed expectations. And with guys like Jake Gensel and company, I don't doubt it. It's weird. I don't know how to explain this. There is not a rationale for this. But to be perfectly honest, as far as this team, as long as guys like Chris Letang are there and he stays healthy, and Brian Rust, they are going to find ways to win games early. And it's one of those things where it's like they're probably going to still make the playoffs no matter what. Anyway, it will be a question of who they face in the first round if they can go on a deep run. I say no. We'll see what happens.
I don't think they're making the playoffs. That's just me.
It's very possible. I don't doubt. I think they are a bubble team. It is like one of those, it's like a 4 to 5 type deal. And that means 5, as we all know, Jim, probably means out of the playoffs.
Right.
Finally, the big kahuna, or at least you think they could be, is the New York Islanders. How does the New York Islanders translate from 2 bubble seasons to the regular season? Oh, by the way, their new arena doesn't open until around Thanksgiving. UBS Arena. So they're going to be playing a lot of games on the road early, which for most teams, that would be bad. The Islanders, not so bad. No, the freaking Islanders, they can play anywhere.
Exactly.
And they have one of the best, like we said, we have one of the best goaltending teams in the league, and Semyon Varlamov and Ilya Sorokin. Must be nice, right?
I guess so. I mean, it carried them there. They carried to an Eastern Conference Final for the second year in a row.
Yeah.
They got a nice team. They'll probably have a nice third line with Pajot, Palmieri, and Parise. I don't think Parise's gonna be expected to do anything. And look, the Islanders get Anders Lee back. That's all you can ask. They're going to find a way to get to the playoffs. They'll probably, if they don't finish first, they'll finish second. They're gonna.
Absolutely.
I do believe this is the Islanders' year to finally make that next step because they know what it takes now. And Barry Trotz knows how to adjust his team. Lou will find a way to make a couple of moves, and the Islanders will be there in the end.
It is simply all or nothing for the New York Islanders, ladies and gentlemen. It'll be fun.
That's
and
a good
we did this
in
an hour, ladies and gentlemen. We pulled this
right.
off in an hour. As always, like we said, thanks to Jim. A special thanks and a shout out to Mr. Mike Straw for giving me some guidance throughout the last several weeks on how to do this crazy thing. And of course, thanks to our listeners out there, because without you guys, hey, we don't have a show. Like
That's
I said, as always, you can find us on Twitter at Full Press NHL, at Full Press Coverage. You can go on www.fullpresshockey.com, get all your hockey needs. Like I said, I'm one of those people. You can follow me at Chris Wassel DFS on Twitter. You can ask questions 24 hours a day. I'll probably answer within an hour, and it's all good. So, like I've said, for Jim, myself, and Ian in the back, we do the Western Conference next week. This is Full Press. Wait, we still don't have a name. The show with no name. Signing off.